1,000 more V-Bucks.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Got ready for the new Marvel shit.
There you go. All right, give me a couple seconds and we'll roll into it. Welcome back to the Dynasty Happy Hour. It is I, your host, as you heard in the beginning, Doug Eddy, along with my co-host, Tyler Gunther. The two-man box has returned. Thanks again for James for joining us last week on our Hot Takes episode. Looking forward to circling back at the end of the year and seeing how accurate or non-accurate we were with those, which is always one of the funnest exercises in the Hold Us Accountable party that we like to have. So, Tyler, how the heck are you this morning?
Well, it's an early morning, but
Yeah.
the wife is back at work. So she is a third grade teacher, and they start earlier this year. So she's got to be at school like before 8. Last year it was like 8:15. Now she's got to be there by like 7:30 or something like that. So
That's not fun.
this guy gets to wake up earlier. Also, I've got all 3 kids, which is fine. And we get to go grocery shopping today, which is one of my favorite things to do with the kids because they like to pick out a bunch of ridiculous things.
Bunch of trash. Daddy, I want fruit roll-ups. Daddy, I want fruit snacks.
And my new thing is letting them make the list, which is always fun to look at their list to see what they
It's a good
put
writing
on there.
exercise, at least. You can have them write it down. So that's not terrible. So awesome. Yeah, my kids go back to school here starting next week in the middle of our vacation. So Jacqueline's bringing them back from the Cape to school for their first day and then back, and then they're missing the Friday. So they'll miss one day of school. Not the end of the world. My kids almost never miss school, so not a big deal. All right, this week we've got a little bit of a roundabout review for training camps. We're going to go team by team. Some of the things that we observed, we're going to be pretty quick in and out today. We both got busy schedules going on. Like I said, Tyler's got his kids. I've got just a busy schedule in general this week. My wife's birthday, got a concert, got all sorts of shit going on. So we're going to get in and out. Only real injury news that we've got is Jaylen Warren's going to miss multiple weeks for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that obviously gives Najee Harris a little bump. And then maybe, I don't even know who's LaMichael Pirine. Remember that name?
Yeah.
He's still in the league. He's a Pittsburgh Steeler, along with Cordero Patterson, former 1,000-yard rusher, is also there. So maybe those guys get a little bit of extra work with Najee while Warren misses some time. But I know Warren was a sleeper in the redraft streets. So he's going to be sleeping even further as we get into redraft season, which we're going to take the next 2 weeks off. I'm on vacation next week, and then we're going to take the week off going into the season because, honestly, Dynasty is all about the offseason. But week 1, we're going to start up and do our reviews on what we saw week by week, Tyler and I, and maybe some special guests along the way. But we're going to take 2 weeks off, let you focus on redraft season. I know I've got at least one redraft league coming up that I'm going to be at, so I'm going to be focusing on that. And we'll let it breathe for a little bit, and then we'll circle back in week 1. Right, Tyler?
100%. Yeah. I'm in no redraft leagues. I miss it, though. At first, when I left them, I'm like, I'm not going to miss them. I'm all about Dynasty. I miss them. Because it's a good balance.
Yep. I think you can take you can use some of the redraft mindset in Dynasty if that makes any sense whatsoever.
Yes. No, really, you can.
So it's good to keep yourself sharp if you're playing both. So note to you, Tyler, join a redraft league, will you?
I'm not sharp. Right. I'm dull.
This is true. All right. Let's get into the AFC East. We'll start there with the Buffalo Bills circling the wagon. And you know what? I'll go first because going into the dynasty drafts, we saw a lot of Ray Davis go in the 4th round usually, and then maybe he got into the late 3rd in some leagues, and people loved his tape. He's an older prospect. He's got a lot of experience, which, in dynasty, like, oh, he's 25 years old or whatever. I'm going to stay away from him. But gosh darn it, Ray Davis looks like he could be the 1-2 punch with James Cook this season coming up.
Yeah, and he looks 25 if we're going by looks. But, Doug, I have to ask, have you seen Florida State's new running back?
I have not yet.
He's a big dude. If you have a chance, look him up. He looks like he's 28, has about 4 kids, and he's 18. Like, it's insane.
Fair enough.
He's yoked up. This dude is the next big thing at running back. But, yeah, I'm going to have to say my observation is the wide receiver core. I think it's just going to be spread around.
A lot of Mac Hollins on the field.
Mac Hollins. Samuel has turf
toe.
Doesn't
wear shoes, that guy.
Yes. I mean, out of all the receivers that got turf toe, it's Curtis Samuel and not Mac Hollins, who doesn't wear shoes.
He wears them on the field, for the record.
Yeah. I mean, Mac Hollins is one of those guys that I'm kind of shocked didn't pan out in a way because he's
He's flashed.
super athletic. He's a good receiver. He blocks. He does all the little things that don't matter for fantasy. But my observation is it's going to be spread out early, and one of these guys will pop up and become something. If it's Shakir, Coleman, Samuel when healthy, but I think at the beginning, like the first 4 weeks, we're going to have a bunch of this guy's game.
I think it's going to be the favorite receiver is the open receiver, very Tom Brady-esque for the Buffalo Bills.
Which I think helps Josh Allen because he was trying to force feed Diggs.
Yep.
So I think this actually helps Josh Allen, but it hurts guys that like Dalton Kincaid. And I think Keon Coleman, I'll let my hopium fall a little bit, but I do think that in the end, in the long run, it will be Coleman and Kincaid that come out on top.
Yep. Let's move on to the Miami Dolphins. For me, in Miami, it's been interesting because I know that Jonnu Smith has been getting a lot of buzz, but in the preseason, they still don't use their tight ends. So, I mean, Jonnu Smith, he's been free in some dynasty leagues that have been. I've seen him get picked up on waivers. And that's a little bit of hopium because we know Jonnu Smith is athletic. He was the better tight end between him and Kyle Pitts last year in Atlanta. Statistically, don't shoot me. But Jonnu Smith gained some buzz. I just don't think they're going to use the tight end unless they have an injury at the wide receiver position. So maybe they use Jonnu Smith here and there. But my camp observation is that like Jonnu Smith, great athlete, fun little tight end. I know I had hopium back when he was with Tennessee. He was one of my guys. But I just don't see it. The usage, I don't think is going to be there between, all the stuff they're going to give the wide receivers and the running backs.
My observation so far is I think Tua could take another step. I'm not a big Tua guy, but everything I've seen...
Maybe he doesn't take one step and he takes Tua
steps. Oh my God. This is why we're taking 2 weeks off. 2 weeks off. No, I've been watching a little bit of the preseason of them because Jalen Wright, I have a lot of
same.
Lot of chips in. Devon Achane, I have my hot take on, and I actually expect big things from him. But Tua seems like the offense is now part of him. That's the easiest way I can describe it. Like it's just natural to him. Yep. And when that happens, Tua could be very deadly. Like he had the most passing yards last year as a thrower. So I think he could take another
got the security
step.
of the contract. The head coach loves him. He just talked shit about Brian Flores this week on how bad he was as a coach.
Yeah. Like
so I think honestly, he was in a good spot.
Yeah, right. And I think we saw like Matt Ryan year 2 in the Shanahan system, but year 3 was like massive. It takes a while for the Shanahan style offense to really think in, and once you're comfortable with it, like it's nuts. The next step you can take, like Brock Purdy, I think he took that step way quicker than we all thought. Tua, if he just lets it come to him, I think he could take a next step, and I think he's very undervalued, which is rare for me to say because I'm not the biggest Tua guy.
Right. I just won him in a dynasty auction this week for $20. So I like this take. It's music to my ears, if you will. All right, let's move on to the New York Jets. I mean, I know the biggest buzz, and maybe you'll touch on it unless you want me to touch on it, has been Braylon Allen backing up Breece Hall. He's really set himself apart. Robert Saleh has said really good things, although if you look at the Coach Speak Index, he's like a 50-50 kind of guy. He's not to be trusted, as they say.
I love that that's a thing. Yeah, I love that somebody actually did all that stuff.
Yeah, it was on Late Round QB. JJ Zacharyson did one of his late round perspectives with the founder of that, and it was a really good listen. I listened to it while I was mowing the yard last week. But Braylon Allen, I guess, will be mine because there hasn't been a lot out of the Jets camp, except for Braylon Allen. I mean, you get a little Malachi Corley, maybe, but Braylon Allen, if Breece Hall goes down, I mean, if you picked him in the 4th round, I mean, you got a starting running back. They still have Isaiah Davis there, who they drafted, which a lot of people liked as well, and Izzy Abanikanda. So a lot of youth at the running back position. But Braylon Allen looking like a savvy pick in round 4. He's super young. He had this. The college stats were good, but he's showing that he's capable in the pass game too, which is nice to see.
Yeah, my observation is the Jets' offensive line is light years better than they were last year. They have confidence. They have depth. Like their first round pick is going to be their 6th lineman So that's nice with Morgan Moses and Tyron Smith as the bookend tackles. I think having that first round pick as a backup is going to be just comfort. And that's what you need with Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers, honestly, I could see him playing for like another 3 or 4 years. I thought about that last night. I'm like, he's going to be one of those guys that's just like, nope, I got it. Joe Montana. I'm going to reach the level that you reach. I'm going to play till forever because I got nothing better to do. Once the spotlight's off Aaron Rodgers, he's going to hate it. So he's going to stay in it forever.
That's true.
That's my observation.
Very Brady-esque.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Tom Brady's old team, the New England Patriots. For me, this is a
Did you just throw up?
A little bit. Juju Smith-Schuster is gone, thankfully. Oh, look, no team went to sign him. Shocked, I say. What a downfall for used to be some people's wide receiver 1 in Dynasty many moons ago. Smooster. I'll go with the young wide receiver core of Jalen Polk and Javon Baker. Javon Baker, in the preseason game, Drake May on a dot, that deep ball where Baker just couldn't hold it through the ground as he caught it. And but he's been making catches like that in training camp all preseason. And Jalen Polk is looking like Drake May's favorite. Drake May is coming on. He's looking better. He's getting more comfortable. His biggest thing that he's been struggling with in training camp has been the 2-minute drill, but he's been really good in red zone drills. So very interesting to see where that goes. But for me, it's going to be Javon Baker and Jalen Polk. I think they are the future at pass catcher for the New England Patriots.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback off Drake May. And my observation is I can't unsee the throwing motion now. I see it.
The
hitch in my head.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. They've been talking about it on the radio too.
I'm not sure it can be fixed because I think it's just him. He can make it work. He's got a Phillip Rivers-esque delivery.
He's still accurate when he throws it with the weird. Yeah.
Yeah, it's different. But, look at MLB pitchers. They throw different. Every pitcher has a different arm angle. Yep.
Yeah.
So, and I would say I'd be worried if he was like 6 foot 6'1", but he's a big boy. So he's got the weird delivery that's at an angle. So I'm not too worried about it. But
it's noticeable, though.
It's definitely noticeable. And it takes at least like an extra split second for him to throw the ball out.
Yeah, and it's usually on like what I've seen, like a lot of shorter passes is when you see it the most.
Yeah, like he's kind of doing it for accuracy, which, hey,
maybe.
Matt Stafford, except his release is a lot quicker. Stafford has thousands of different arm angles that he does.
Lamar throws it weird too. Like
Lamar's got a hitch.
It doesn't bother me that much.
Yeah, but I really like what I see out of Drake May, and the running that he's been doing is an extra boost. Same with we'll get into another rookie quarterback. I won't say it.
Yes, we will. Let's move on to the AFC North and go to the Baltimore Ravens. Really, the Ravens for me is all of the. I've been following the smoke signals about Isaiah Likely. He's been getting the most buzz during camp. They've been said like, oh, maybe he's their wide receiver too. Like they have Zay Flowers, they have Mark Andrews, but they're using Likely all over the place. And I love that because, outside of Flowers, you've got Rashad Bateman, who they extended, which still hasn't been a thing. Hopefully he is eventually. Tylan Wallace has got some buzz at doing returns. And then they've got the rookie Tez Walker, who got some buzz early in camp, but he's faded off a little bit. So for me, Isaiah Likely is the story for the Ravens. And if they start to use him in 2 tight end sets or move him all around, he's going to be a weapon. And I love that.
Yeah, I'm just going to go with that because that's my biggest thing. I traded for him in a league that we're in. I think it was one of those a buy high today looks like a buy low tomorrow type trade. So, and same with another rookie receiver we might talk about. But I'm just going to piggyback off that.
All right, let's move on we're on to Cincinnati, as Bill Belichick would say. Let's cover them Bengals. Jamar Chase still in a hold-in. There's rumors from Chad Ochocinco, the man himself, that says that Jamar Chase deal will be done before the season. We shall see. Need him on the field, though. That would be great. But mine is another Bengals receiver, a guy that I've liked from the jump, Andre Yoshivas, who is winning the 3rd receiver job along with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Not Jermaine Burton, who had some camp buzz early, but has really faded off. Didn't play until the 4th quarter of the last preseason game. So I don't know what's going on with Jermaine Burton. Maybe he's just having a learning curve issue. We know he's talented, but for me, the wide receiver 3 is Andre Yoshivas. I have him on a ton of teams. He was a UDFA free pickup for me. So I'm loving that. If he becomes the starting slot receiver at 6'3", hyper athletic, oh boy, I am so in.
Yeah. And there was another podcast that talked about big slot receivers and how good their success is and how the NFL is leaning towards it. So, yeah, that's not a bad pick. Mine is going to be Eric All getting you haven't really heard about it, but there is camp buzz. If you really search for it, Eric All is getting some buzz and how he's flashed his athleticism and how he looks healthy finally after his knee injury. But Eric All is somebody that you need to go check your waiver wire to see if he's there. But I think he's one of those tight ends that's going to splash.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Gesicki, obviously a stopgap there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not too worried about that. Let's move it on to, let's do the Cleveland Brownies. The Cleveland Browns. You know, I've heard great things about Cedric Tillman's camp. He's having a stellar camp, but yet I haven't really heard much. I've only heard a couple people say it. I still like Cedric Tillman. I liked him better than Jalen Hyatt coming out of Tennessee. I need to see it, though. You know, Jerry Jeudy's been banged up. So is Amari Cooper. Elijah Moore is still there. It's just a really deep wide receiver chart. And I have no idea what the Browns are going to do on offense. If they're going to run the ball more, if they're going to throw it more. They are they're like the mystery box with the big question mark on it. Like, I just don't know what they're going to do and how Deshaun Watson's going to be this year. So I guess that's my observation is like, I don't know what to expect from this Browns offense. You know, Nick Chubb is going to start the season on PUP. Jerome Ford has looked good and flashed. Donta Foreman's there. They still have Pierre Strong. It's just kind of a hot mess.
Yeah, no, I agree. And my observation is Deshaun Watson is back. Is he? Maybe. I don't know.
Do we care?
That's what I've heard. He's had great days and he's had bad days, and that's exactly what we've seen since he's come back for Cleveland.
I just know his backups were awful in the preseason.
Yeah, Jameis might just be a fun.
Tyler Huntley was bad too.
A cheerleader. Jameis might just be a fun cheerleader. Like,
he'll be on the roster for 20 years just because he can pump up the team.
He's such a hype man. But yeah,
he's something. I don't want to go on a tangent about Jameis. Yeah, his picture is right behind me over my shoulder. Anywho, let's get on to the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know, obviously with the Jaylen Warren injury, I think the biggest thing from the preseason is really just about the quarterbacks. You know, we've seen Justin Fields. We've seen him have some amazing plays. And then we've seen him have some Justin Fields bonehead plays. So there's definitely been a little bit of both. You know, Russ, I think, will be the starter going into the season. But how long of a leash does he get? I don't know. Are they going to trade for Brandon Ayuk? I don't know. Is Arthur Smith going to run a competent offense? I don't know. But I think the star of the camp has been Pat Freiermuth. He's been getting a lot of buzz. And if they use him a lot in that offense, Russ likes the tight end. I could see that. You know, I think Pat Freiermuth, he was a top 6 or 7 dynasty tight end not that long ago. You know, he has a history of some concussions, but I wouldn't surprise me if he finishes like a back end tight end 1 when it's all said and done, because the kid is super talented. So
my observation is the offense looks trash. Like, it looks so bad. The offensive line is banged up completely. Fields, like you said, is doing Fields things. He's doing stupid turnovers, but he looks explosive when he's running. His throwing, like, he missed a receiver big time, and I don't know. And you say you've heard hype on Freiermuth. I've actually heard the opposite. I've heard that Washington is getting play, and their depth tight ends are getting in more than Freiermuth.
Washington has played a decent amount of snaps this preseason.
Yes. So I've heard a lot of conflicting reports, and it could, you know, how I came in here saying, hey, Arthur Smith could learn from his mistakes. No, he probably is not going to learn from his mistakes in Atlanta, and he's probably just going to do Arthur Smith things, which is sad. And I think Ayuk's seen all of this and is like, I think I need to sign this extension with San Fran.
Maybe. All right, let's move to the AFC South and start with the Houston Texans. My observation is I know a lot of people were worried with Stephon Diggs in town, Nico Collins in town. I'm still in on Tank Dell. If there's a discount on Tank Dell, buy it now, because I'm not really worried about Stephon Diggs. I think, you know, Stephon Diggs is going to be still a nice player for fantasy. I think Nico's going to be the wide receiver 1 there, but Tank is going to be the, maybe he gets 60 catches, but it's 900 yards and 8 touchdowns type of player because he's that big impact. He's that juice in the offense. So I like what I've seen out of Tank Dell coming off the injury. And, he's CJ Stroud's guy. Like CJ said, I want you to draft Tank Dell. He's not going to go away from him. I would not be surprised if Tank Dell scores more fantasy points than Stephon Diggs this year at all. So I'm still in on Tank Dell. I'm buying any kind of discount that I can find on him.
Yep. I'm right there with you. And I think Stephon Diggs is going to have a hissy fit come midway through the season. He already had a little one on the sideline talking to Stroud about his route and all this. Stroud's going to be the guy who finds the open guy. Stroud is actually one of those guys that is smart and just throws it to the open receiver, which is usually Tank Dell or Nico Collins down the field. So
yeah,
I think it's those two, Dalton Schultz. I'm worried about Joe Mixon, and Dameon Pierce is having a little bit of a resurgent comeback. But
Jawar Jordan season.
Yes, Jawar Jordan is getting tons and tons of hype. So it's going to be a fun offense. You're going to want Stroud, Tank Dell, and Nico Collins and log out.
Yep. All right, let's move it to the Indianapolis Colts. I think this is a negative one. It's Adonai Mitchell. He slipped in the draft and went in the late second? Or do you go in the third?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was second.
Slipped in the draft, and Josh Downs went down with an injury. And Adonai Mitchell was struggling to beat Alec Pierce in this offense, which, I mean, Alec Pierce is like king of the 9 rounds. I think he ran the most in the NFL last year. Dude is a cardio king. So shout out to Alec Pierce. But Adonai Mitchell's been struggling. I like the talent of Adonai Mitchell, but it's going to be really interesting to see if he carves himself out a role in this offense at all. They've got about 15 tight ends there. They've got Michael Pittman. When Josh Downs comes back, that third receiver job I feel is like up for it. And Adonai Mitchell doesn't seem to have wanted to like grab it just yet. So
I have heard conflicting reports about that.
So he's starting to come on a little bit.
I was actually going to say my thing is I was wrong about AD Mitchell. Like
really,
every time he hits the field, he's smooth, and I think he could be right up there with Keon Coleman as in like a high riser for me because I think Alec Pierce thing. It's just Alec Pierce knows the system. He runs a 9 route very well. All the time. He's still running one.
He's like Forrest Gump, just running a straight line.
And I've actually heard AD Mitchell is going to play the big slot where Josh Downs would have played while he's out and can definitely earn himself some snaps. But AD Mitchell in practice has destroyed. Like he's done awesome on 1-on-1s in what is it? When they have practices, joint practices. He's owned people. And I've seen videos of it. It's nuts. Like AD Mitchell has actually surprised me more than a lot of players. And I know the footballers brought this up because Andy's a huge AD Mitchell guy. And Jason and Mike were kind of off of him. And they are even like, we might be wrong on this guy. He might just be really good.
What's that? I've got breaking news in my ear, Tyler. My sources were from a couple weeks ago.
But this is training camp. Like this is what happens. We've had reports about all these. Yes. So AD Mitchell, my thing is I might have been wrong, which will bring up another player that I was way wrong about.
And go scoop up Evan Hall in your leagues if he's available.
Yeah. All right. He looks like he's the pass catcher.
Yes. All right. Let's get on to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I wasn't really super thrilled when they signed Gabe Davis. But what they're saying now is that Gabe Davis might do that big slot role for Trevor Lawrence's big slot, which made me perk up a little bit because Gabe Davis, much like an Alec Pierce when he was with Buffalo, just like, run a 9 route. He had a limited route tree. But if they use him, in that big slot role, they use Christian Kirk outside more along with BTJ. I actually kind of like that for Gabe Davis. So I think he could have a sneaky good season if they end up doing that. I know there's a lot of mouths to feed, insert pun here, because they have Evan Ingram as well. But yeah, Gabe Davis, I think for me is hearing that news is like, okay, they're going to use him a little bit differently than they did in Buffalo. So that was encouraging.
Yeah, mine is Brian Thomas Jr. Started off very slow. He had a very quiet camp, and the past week and a half, he has just blossomed. Apparently, he's uncoverable in joint practices. People can't, joint practices.
Not even Mac Jones can cover him.
Yes, but apparently he has just made strides upon strides, which is known because he's a raw, athletic wide receiver. He ran 3 routes in college, and it looks like he's starting to get grasp of the route tree. And if that happens, look out, because this guy could be the receiver we're all like, oh, damn, like Xavier Worthy, we might have taken over him. Lad McConkey, like all these guys. And Brian Thomas might have just been the pick. And Brian Thomas is one of the guys where I have no shares of. So I am looking to acquire some. I've sent some offers out this week. And it's always nice to do so before the season starts, because once he has a big game, good night.
Forget it.
You're done.
You're done. All right, let's move on to the Tennessee Titans. My biggest thing has been the backfield with Tennessee, and if I'm looking to add a running back, I think one of the most desirable players to add is Tajay Spears. Tony Pollard started to come on late last season as he got healthy and looked better than he did. But Tajay Spears, man, has been killing it in camp. He looked really good in his rookie season. I think he had the second most receptions at the running back position for a rookie last year, Spears, and he looked really good complimenting Derrick Henry. And now he's got Tony Pollard, which I know they paid Pollard, but I think it's going to be a 50-50 backfield. And then if Pollard goes down, bam, Spears is your running back 1. So I love that. So Tajay Spears is a running back that I'm trying to target with like a second round pick and trying to acquire him because the camp buzz has been great. And I think he's going to have a really nice RB2 type of season here in Tennessee.
Mine would be that Josh Wiley looks to be the starting tight end. No, that's not Jared Wiley. That is Josh Wiley, which means Chig is taking a back seat. This is, to me, kind of known because the kind of people they brought in, they want blocking, they want better offensive line play. And Josh Wiley is a great blocker at tight end. And he's very athletic too, so he can get out, catch the ball. So for me, that is the guy I'm looking to see if he's on waivers and seeing if I could snag up.
Yeah, he's available in a lot of leagues. I've got him in a couple.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to the AFC West. My observation is that Troy Franklin looking like a dud.
Yeah, my observation is Bo Nix. I was wrong.
Hey, he looks good, man.
He looks I know it's preseason, it's generic defense, so I'm not gonna say I'm completely wrong, but I wanted nothing to do with Bo Nix. And like I said, it was probably because the Auburn tape was so awful, so bad.
That was so long ago. That was like 8 years ago.
Yes, which he started 8 years in college. I know.
Yep.
So for me, that and Marvin Mims just might be Sean Payton's new Mark Ingram. If you guys remember, Mark Ingram was hated by Sean Payton for a while. So Marvin Mims, I don't know if he did something to Sean Payton's mom, wife, etc. Who knows? But Mims looks to be like he's always in the doghouse. Like, hey, no, you're only doing punts. Oh, you played one play? Okay.
You remember a receiver that used to be in the doghouse a lot in his first year or two? Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Mims is such a good player. I don't get why he's just he had a nice touchdown. I don't know. Sean Payton is awful. Also, Javonte looks to be back. He looks explosive again.
Yeah. So if we get anything out of Troy Franklin, I'm going to be surprised because he's been kind of a wet fart noise. Unless you've heard otherwise, Tyler.
But no, Bo Nix and Troy Franklin are my two kind of don't draft players.
I don't have Franklin anywhere. I have Bo Nix in a small handful of leagues because he was a value, but like, yeah, I don't have Franklin.
I have no Franklin either. And it's kind of nice to be right, but you feel bad for the actual guy. It's like,
for sure. All right, let's move on to the Kansas City Chiefs. I think my biggest observation for the Chiefs is that, like, outside of Isaiah Pacheco, if Pacheco goes down, it's worth rostering Deneric Prince. I mean, maybe even Carson Steele at this point.
Carson Steele.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire is dealing with some personal stuff, I guess. It's going to be – I picked up Deneric Prince in a lot of leagues once that I heard, the buzz that he was getting the second team snaps. And he had a long run this week in preseason. He's a fast guy, big guy. You never know. Kansas City, they could also bring in a free agent or one of these guys that gets cut off a team. How many running backs have circulated through Kansas City over the years? Jerick McKinnon, Le'Veon Bell, Melvin Gordon, like you name it. Wouldn't surprise me if they bring in a veteran. But for now, Deneric Prince worthy of at least a roster spot in most of your leagues.
Yeah, Deneric Prince's famous hit song, Me in a Red Helmet. Me in a red helmet.
You sound like generic Prince.
Generic Prince. Walmart brand.
Great value.
Oh, that was good. My observation is Xavier Worthy might be it finally. After years of searching, James
He's been
Sky Moore,
toasting dudes.
like Xavier Worthy looks to be legit. And if you're gonna have one person, like we haven't had Deshaun Jackson in a long time, and this is the first player that I've seen. It's like, okay, this guy is Deshaun Jackson. So that's my observation. Is if you took Xavier Worthy, congratulations. It looks like you finally got a Kansas City receiver in the first round that will stay.
Yay. All right, let's move on to the Las Vegas Raiders. Gardner Minshew named the starting quarterback. I know that excites no one, but it's a thing. For me, it's still Dylan Lobb as the third down pass catcher there out of New Hampshire because I got love for him because I'm a New Hampshire boy. So Dylan Lobb, pretty much winning that third down role, I think. They've got Madison, they've got White. Those guys, I mean, Madison
could get cut and be a Chief. Like I was just thinking about that.
Oh,
like he
for
could
sure.
be one of those players.
Yeah, so I like Dylan Lobb, Loeb, Lisa Loeb.
Loeb. Yeah.
Lobby. Yeah.
My observation is Michael Mayer still has a heartbeat. Yes, that is right. He still has a heartbeat. They're going to do a lot of 2 tight end sets, but is Brock Bowers really going to be a tight end? That is yet to be seen.
It doesn't matter.
Who cares? And he's going to be elite. So these 2 tight ends, hey, we still got something here.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Last but not least in the AFC is the Los Angeles Chargers.
What's your observation here?
I mean, Kamani Vidal is alive.
Maybe.
Maybe Isaiah Spiller is probably going to get cut. I don't know. It's the Chargers are just a bit of a hot mess. Justin Herbert is back after his plantar issue, so he's going to be practicing. I've had that, by the way.
It sucks.
I've had plantar issues too, and they're not fun. Yeah, I guess my thing is here is the backfield is a bit of a hot mess, and it could be a Russian roulette. I know a lot of people liked Vidal as a sleeper. They liked his tape coming out of school, and they were like, oh, like he's got a chance to win the job. I don't know about all that, but I don't know. This is a fantasy hodgepodge of mess when it comes to the Chargers.
Mine is
Josh
Ladd
Palmer for life.
Yeah, Ladd McConkey has been hot, cold, injured, not injured. Who knows? But my observation is this offense is going to come out of the woodworks at the end of the season. We're all talking negative about him. Harbaugh's going to find a way, and all of a sudden, boom, here we are thinking, oh my God, what were we thinking?
Well, this team win 9 games?
Yeah.
But grit and balls, that's how they did it.
This defense is going to be really good. The linebacking core is nuts.
Yeah, they should be solid. All right, let's move on to the NFC. We'll go start with the East. We'll go with the Dallas Cowboys, America's team, who hasn't won anything in forever. Get out of here with that. Anywho, for me, it's got to be Jalen Tolbert. He has been the steady drumbeat of a player all training camp. We don't know what's going on with CeeDee Lamb. Is he close to a deal? Is he not? Week 1's right around the corner. But Jalen Tolbert should be the third pass catcher in that offense, taking the old Michael Gallup role along with Brandon Cooks. So he should be a starter. And, his rapport with Dak has been pretty good. And it looks like he is ready to make a leap in year 3, which honestly, we don't see year 3 leaps very much at wide receiver anymore. It's usually like year 2. But he hasn't had the opportunity to play that much. So I think Jalen Tolbert, another guy, scrape around on your dynasty leagues and see if he's available because he just might be. And I think he's worthy of a pickup because the buzz has been super strong with Jalen Tolbert.
Mine would be the offensive line. Back when Zeke first entered the league, was young, up and coming, and dominant. And I think they're almost there again. They've been drafting in the trenches all like the past 3 years. They've just been offensive line, defensive line. So for me, I think the offensive line is making a resurgence again. And Tyler Glasnow, their first round pick, looks to be special.
Guyton?
Yes, Tyler Guyton. Great first name.
I mean, he's a fellow Tyler. You should not mess up his last name.
I'm sorry.
All right, let's move on.
I'll apologize to him in the meeting.
Yes, let's move on to the New York Giants. And there's only one name that stands out here. It's Malik freaking Neighbors. Yep. Electric. He's electric. Boogie, woogie, woogie. He's been making plays left and right. He had a nice preseason game. He is the dude. Malik Neighbors. If he somehow slipped to you at 104, 105, it's a Jamar Chase situation to me. Like, you took it and you ran. You ran and you just take Neighbors because I would not be shocked if he finishes in the top 20 wide receivers this season in his rookie year.
Easily. Yeah. He's going to get 170 targets, which might be all the targets.
Hey, $1 is still there.
Yeah, and Theo Johnson has been making waves, so this rookie class could be exciting for the Giants.
Yeah, breathe a little life into that offense. And Eric Gray's looked good too as a Devin Singletary compliment. So another guy I would look in your dynasty leagues and see if he's available.
Eric the Gray, if he does level up, he will turn Eric the White like Gandalf did.
Oh, very nice. Fly, you fools. All right. And speaking of flying, let's go to the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't really have much for the Eagles outside of the wide receiver 3 position is pretty wide open. And for a while, until he got, I think he might have got concussed in this past week, was Johnny Wilson out of Florida State, being a very, very big slot. He's like 6'6". So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I still don't trust Dallas Goedert for anything. When it comes to fantasy, he's my least favorite fantasy tight end. I've decided when it comes to like looking at rankings, I just don't get it. But Johnny Wilson, if he wins that starting slot job, because this Paris Campbell, there's a bunch of also rans there. I mean, they even brought in Devontae Parker, who then retired, like whatever. But for me, Johnny Wilson has had a good camp. And I mean, if you can put a 6'6" wide receiver like in the slot, that's kind of dangerous. So it'd be interesting to see what the Eagles do there.
Mine is Will Shipley is making noise as an RB2. Very, very, very high recruit going into college. Had a bunch of injuries that kind of derailed him. He had a good freshman campaign, but he looks to be fully healthy. And if he's fully healthy, he's an actual better athlete than what we've seen from him in the past couple of years. So Will Shipley, if you took him in the 4th, you're happy about it because he could be the backup to Saquon.
Yeah, he had a nice catch and run against the Patriots in the preseason game this past week where I was like, ooh, okay.
Yeah.
He gave me a little like CMC vibe with what he was doing there.
Well, when he was a recruit, that's what people were saying. Like, this is the next McCaffrey, Yeah,
next
Puka, white running back. Running back.
Just because there's not many. Dylan Lobb, the next McCaffrey.
Yeah. Dylan Lobb, the next Danny Woodhead.
Yes. Let's move on to the Washington Commanders. There's been reports that Jahan Dotson might not be the wide receiver 2 there.
I heard that,
which is interesting. I mean, his snaps supported that like he's the wide receiver 2, but Diami Brown is supposedly making some moves. They have Luke McCaffrey there. So I'll go with that. Like if another guy that if he's available in your league and you got roster spot, Diami Brown might be worth a pickup. If he's going to have a good rapport with Jaden Daniels, I know he had like that 40-yard completion to Dynami Punani Brown. So, yeah, might be worth a roster spot if Jahan Dotson does fall out of favor there in Washington.
Mine is Jane Daniels looks good, but he's still making mistakes like he did in college, which is getting hit by everything. Dan Quinn put him on double secret probation after last preseason because he didn't run out of bounds. He decided to get hit, and it's gonna be different in the NFL, Jaden. You're going to get hit by 220-pound safeties that are running 4.4 and yoked up.
Your skinny body is not going to handle it. They
should
just put an Oculus on him and just put all of RG3's highlights or lowlights of him getting hit. And he just wears it all day long to remind him that this fan base has PTSD and don't do that to us again.
If you watch that game film, he would also have PTSD.
Oh, yeah. He'd be like, oh, this is great rookie year. And then, but look at him get absolutely destroyed.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I mean, ESPN, the latest one to hit Robert Griffin III for a major
Thanks
injury.
to that croissant. I mean, he loves his croissants.
Croissants are amazing. I love a flaky pastry. All right, let's get into the NFC North. Chicago Bears. I think we're going to be on the same page with this one. It's Caleb. Dude.
In Rome.
Dude, Caleb, that throw across, very Aaron Rodgers-esque. He made it look easy, hit Rome on an absolute dot. Yeah, Caleb is him.
To his left.
Yeah, sick. As someone who used to play quarterback, that is a big boy throw that not a lot of people can make and is pretty awesome. So, yeah, Caleb, if you had the 101, you took Caleb, or, in a single QB league, if you took him at 109, like me, you're feeling really good about yourself right now. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, mine is Rome and Caleb, and Rome could get some splashy plays early because Keenan Allen isn't in shape. Is he in shape? Is he 230?
He looks fine to me.
Yeah,
I've been watching Hard Knocks, and he doesn't look any different to me. He doesn't look like, oh, Keenan Allen's fat.
The main worry about Caleb, I do want to say, was his personality. Will it mix with the locker room? I'm going to tell
Seems
you
fine.
guys, he fits perfect with this day and age in the locker room. He's joking, he's having fun, he's always smiling, and I think like the old guard hates that.
Probably, yeah. But that's how it is nowadays, right? So
Yeah,
I
but
also
yeah,
think that
Caleb's
I
elite.
also think that NIL money is making you more of a personality in college because you're being more viewed as like a
Yeah,
pitchman and stuff like that. So I think that's rolling over into the NFL. So
yeah.
that's what I'll say. That's what I'll say about that. Let's get into the Detroit Lions.
I really got nothing. Like Jameson Williams might
Who's
be
going to be the
okay.
third? Who's going to be the third receiver? I guess they.
I don't think we care. It's
I don't
Gibbs.
either. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on. Detroit Lions all of a sudden boring.
That's because they got their locked in players.
It's a nice problem to have.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Green Bay. For me, I'm still going to go Dontavian Wicks because he's a player that I really like. I've snagged him in a handful of dynasty leagues last year. Christian Watson, I don't know if he can be trusted with his injury history. Jaden Reed, when they had 3 wide receiver sets, he was on the field, but he's not going to play a full share of snaps. For me, I'm still going after the cheapest receiver, and it's still Wicks, in hopes that, after this year, maybe Romeo Doubs moves on or something along the lines. But Wicks is just a really, really good football player. And I like having those kind of guys on my roster.
Yeah. Mine is this offense is going to be humming.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Let's go to the Minnesota Vikings, who just added Stephon Gilmore. So that's nice.
Yeah. Mine is Jalen Naylor, could be the wide receiver 3.
Yeah.
But Sam Darnold might be okay. Who knows? And Hawkinson might be okay by week 8, but who knows what the team's going to be like.
Lots of question mark. We don't know if Addison's going to be suspended. There's a lot of question marks in Minnesota, so they can be a little maddening.
Our
Outside
season's
of Aaron
over.
Jones and Jefferson, it's a lot of this or that. So we'll see what happens in Minnesota. Let's keep it moving to the NFC South. We won't cover the Falcons right now. We'll do them after. All right, Carolina Panthers. Sorry, little technical difficulties there as my microphone keeps popping in and out. The Panthers have had a kind of a fun preseason training camp. I think that Bryce Young is ready to take the next step. He now has some more weapons with Xavier Legette, a second-year Jonathan Mingo, who he's been showing improvement. And then, of course, they're going to get Jonathan Brooks back. So with Jonathan Brooks back in the fold, I think, mid-season could be a big boost to Bryce Young. So I like him. If you have him in your leagues as like a quarterback 3, I think is really, really solid. So I enjoy that. Tyler's stepping up for a moment. So I'm just going to keep it rolling to the New Orleans Saints. I think the Saints, the biggest thing with them is going to be they've been a lot of buzz around Taysom Hill and what he's going to be in the offense. And Taysom Hill, I know we all hate him because he's 57 years old. He makes a ton of money, but he's fantasy relevant. I had it in the hot takes episode last week. He's been a top 10 tight end the last 3 seasons. He's probably going to make it a top 4 in a row. So for me, Taysom Hill has been a bit buzzy. Because other than that, New Orleans has been kind of, there hasn't been a lot. I mean, we know Olave is going to get a ton of targets. We just don't know who the number 2 guy is going to be. Shaheed's been banged up. So for me, Taysom Hill is that boring, steady, constant fantasy producer.
I can't stand Taysom Hill. He's the worst.
A lot of people can't.
Mine is Chris Olave is going to get 1,000 targets, maybe. It's going to run through him. And Spencer Rattler might start, because Derek Carr is still Mr. Inefficient.
Yeah, he is what I like to call not good. I did the Carolina Panthers while you were gone. Do you have any Panthers thoughts?
Not really. Jatavian Sanders might be a thing.
Could be. All right, let's go to Tampa Bay. I already know Tyler's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Mine is Sean Tucker trying to win a roster spot. He's got the 2nd most rushing yards in the preseason. Now, I know that's not a big thing, but he's averaging 7 yards a carry. He looks like the Sean Tucker from Syracuse, which we all loved. And then he had the heart issue. which scared people off. I got him in the late 5th round or a UDFA. I actually dropped him in one league to make roster space, shuffled some things around, and put a waiver in and picked him back up because I believe in Sean Tucker. He's looked really, really good. He's really battling Bucky Irving for the RB2 spot behind Rachaad White in Tampa. So Sean Tucker, another guy, if people have lost faith, he's looked very, very, very good. So I would pick him up and stash him on your roster.
Jalen McMillan. He's the real deal. He's it. And it could be another Patriots drafted the wrong receiver type thing.
Shut your whore mouth.
I mean, are you nervous that it could happen?
No, because Polk is good.
Polk is good. He's good. But Jalen McMillan could be a very good slot receiver, maybe even play on the outside. But all reports are that he's beating Trey. What's his name? Trey. God, what's his name? Not. Well, I'm drawing a blank. Sorry, my kids were just destroying upstairs. The rookie from last year from LSU. He could be beating him out.
Okay, sure. Let's save the Falcons for the last in the division. Tyler, what are your Falcons observations?
My observations are it's a bad one, and it's Kyle Pitts isn't having a great training camp.
Are you reacting to the video of like him and Jesse Bates? Because that's horseshit.
No, because Jesse Bates is elite.
I was gonna come through the screen and slap you.
I'm reacting to he just seems like he's a little out of shape, per se.
Which out of shape for him is like still like top 5% of human beings.
I want Pitts to work. I really want him to, and I'm nervous because this is the last year that he's got to make it work. So I'm actually he's the one player where I'm like most nervous about this year as a fan and a fantasy player, because if he doesn't work this year, it's done.
The panic button.
Yeah, it's David Njoku 2.0. Like, could he hit in like 4 more years? Maybe.
I know that routine. I held on to Njoku in many, many leagues for a very long time.
But yeah, like I just haven't heard much, and what I've heard is not great. So that's where I'm at. And Michael Penix, him not starting in the last 2 preseason games, is there something we don't know about Cousins?
Kirk Cousins? Yeah, there's a little smoke there.
Yes, there's something there to where Penix could actually start week 1.
Yeah, we'll see. That'll be interesting. All right, let's move on to the last division. We are going to the NFC West, Arizona Cardinals. For me, it's if you've got James Conner and you're a win now team, he's money. I think James Conner has an outstanding camp. He's been running dudes over. He looks rocked up. I love James Conner this year. So for me, if I'm competing for a title and I need help at the running back spot, James Conner is on the top of my list of guys to go and get.
Mine is Marvin Harrison is the new AJ Green, because if you remember AJ Green, he was a little boring, but he was he was insane. He was the 101, 102 with Julio Jones, which Julio Jones is Malik Neighbors, the ultra athlete. Oh my God, do you see that splashy play? AJ Green was he got 9 for 100 and a touchdown again. Okay, cool. Like, that's what it was. It's not flashy, but it's elite in everybody else's eyes. Marvin Harrison is literally teaching the receiving room in Arizona. Like, that's what I've seen. So Marvin Harrison is already a professional his rookie year. He's already like an old man in his rookie year. And also Trey McBride is going to be elite.
Yeah, I like this Arizona Cardinals offense. I mean, I've seen about 8 billion like Kyler Murray value articles, not only in redraft but also in Dynasty. So there's also that.
My favorite thing was if you've seen any joint practices. Marv was going against Indy, his father's former team. His father was there,
destroyed them.
And Kenny Moore, one of the best.
He's
slot corners. He's so good. He got destroyed by Marvin Harrison, and all these like elite known people on Twitter were like, hey, like the way his head dropped and his hips turned, like that, you can't teach that. Like, that is elite.
Yeah. Yeah. If you took Marv over Caleb at 101, and you might be like, I think you're fine. Either way.
Yeah, you're fine.
They're both elite players. So congrats. Let's move on to the Los Angeles Rams. This one for me is the rise and continued drumbeat of Jordan Whittington.
So Jordan Whittington, the last 2 preseason games, has led the team in receiving. I think he had 5 and 54 in this last game, and he just looks the part. This kid was buried on the Texas depth chart between Xavier Worthy and A.D. Mitchell. And the Rams, they draft a late round receiver. They are good at drafting gems because look at the Rams roster. All over the place, offense and defense, they've drafted guys in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round that are all starters for them and doing really, really well. So for me, I know Demarcus Robinson is there, and he's been a bit buzzy, but Jordan Whittington is the future wide receiver 3, maybe even wide receiver 2, because Cooper Kupp is 31 years old. So maybe Kupp has a year or 2 left, and then maybe it's Puka Nacua. Nacua. You put the lime and then the coconut. And then Jordan Whittington has a role there. And I think he could have a role as early as year 1 because McVay, who is very trusted on Coach Speak, over 90%, has been literally blowing steam in the Jordan Whittington train. And I love it. I have Whittington in so many spots. I love what I've seen. He's a guy that, again, if you're in leagues that guys aren't paying attention in the offseason as much and Jordan Whittington is available, you need to go and add him right now.
Yeah. Thor, if you know Thor, he knows his college stuff.
Odinson?
Yes. And he mentioned that Whittington in college was god-awful. And if anybody can get the best out of him, it's McVay. But Thor also said he's not believing it. McVay holds starters back. He doesn't play anybody that's going to have anything to do in the season. So Thor said that he's not believing the hype.
Puka played in the preseason last year.
Yes, Thor even said he's like, I'm not believing the hype. He was not a great college player, but we've seen crazier things.
We have seen crazier things. Any Rams for you there, Tyler?
Colby Parkinson is a starting tight end, and he's somebody that should be on your roster.
I agree with that. All right, let's move on to the San Francisco 49ers. I don't really have much here other than Jordan Mason maybe securing the RB2 job. Elijah Mitchell can't stay healthy for the life of him.
He sneezes and gets hurt.
Poor guy. I mean, what was his rookie year where he flashed and he looked awesome, but he's been hurt ever since. And Jordan Mason is like, he reminds me of like a Eddie Lacy, but not overweight, like an explosive Eddie Lacy. Like he's got that big, thick build and he can break through tackles. So Jordan Mason, yet another guy, if he's available, go get him. Because if McCaffrey goes down, whoever is going to take that role is going to score lots of fantasy points. Obviously not as many as CMC, but there are points to be had there. So Jordan Mason, he's been one of the stars of camp for the Niners.
Mine is Cowing over Pearsall, ? Like Pearsall can't stay healthy. He's getting almost no reps. And Jacob Cowing is just showing out in camp. I've seen nothing but positive buzz. And with I think Ayuk stays. I think he signs. But
at this point, yeah.
And Purdy, he went 2 for 6, Doug. It's over. The dream's over.
Yeah,
Stop it.
He threw 4 interceptions in a practice. Like, oof,
stop hating on Purdy. Jesus, like we've seen it 2 years straight. It's done. It's over. If you didn't think he was good, you lost.
I don't know, Tyler. The 3rd year, he might fall off.
Oh man, like Purdy's a great quarterback. He's gonna get
pretty
paid.
Good.
He's gonna get paid like one in a season. So I think once he gets paid, like right now, you can still buy Purdy at a decent price. Once he gets top 5 quarterback money, it's locked in. He's probably going to be a top 8, top 10 dynasty quarterback.
Probably. All right. Last but certainly not least in our hearts is the Seattle Seahawks. And for me, will this year be the rise of JSN? And I think the answer in Ryan Grubb's offense is yes. JSN has been having an awesome camp. You want to talk about a guy in joint practices that's been beating his opponents. It's JSN. He is, I think everyone was disappointed with his uses last year. He came on strong at the end of the year, game-winning touchdown, making big plays. The time of Tyler Lockett is going to start to dwindle, and I think we're going to see some of that tilt over to JSN when we talk about target share. DK will get his, but in this offense with Ryan Grubb as the coordinator and Geno Smith, a capable quarterback, they're going to throw the ball. They're going to try to stretch the field. JSN is going to be able to do that, and I think he is going to have a year 2 breakout.
I've got a couple, and they're going to be short. Zach Charbonnet might not be it. He has looked not great in preseason, and
Ken Walker's been getting a lot of buzz
reports
too.
Is Ken Walker is actually great. Like Ken Walker is going to be the focal point in the offense. That's what I've heard. I've heard DK Metcalf mixed reports on him. Like, yeah, he's elite, but he's kind of a head case in a way. He's
he has
had
a big
issues.
key for a mouth guard, so like, yeah.
And he's taking his helmet and throwing it at people in joint practice.
Yeah, he
like,
on that fight.
in his own team, like. And Sam Howell, if Gino's on a very short leash, that's what I know.
Still alive with Sam Howell.
Because you want to know what Sam Howell does? And I think it's an issue with Atlanta and Michael Penix and how everybody's going to gravitate towards Penix over Cousins, is that Howell could have the locker room because he's a younger type player. This team is very young.
Howell's fun.
Howell's fun. He'll take a hit just to get the extra yard.
He'll make those big balls throws that some quarterbacks won't.
Yeah.
And granted, he'll throw some picks.
Yeah.
He reminds me of Jameis.
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Ryan Fitzpatrick and Jameis had a kid, and it's Ryan, Jameis, Samuel Howell.
Baker Mayfield in there too. So 3 kids and a baby. 3 kids and a Howell. Or three men
Thurston
and a
Howell.
Howell. 3 men and a Howell.
I like that. I still have Howell in a bunch of leagues, and I would not be surprised if it's week 5, 6, and Sam Howell's the starter, and he is putting up fantasy points like he did for Washington. Because remember, at one point through like week 10 or 11, before the Washington had their bye, he was leading the NFL in passing yards. Now, it might have been a little ugly. Did he take some sacks? Yes. Did he throw some picks? Yes. But it was sure as hell fun to watch.
Yeah, and don't forget, people are all hyped up on Fields like, oh, he could return. Howell was traded for a 4th and a 6th.
Much bigger capital. Yep.
Fields was traded for a conditional 6th.
Yeah, it was bad.
Or 7th. Yeah, it was like nothing.
So no one wanted Fields.
People wanted Howell, and Denver was a team that was in on Howell. So if Howell was starting for Denver, people would be freaking out. But yeah, Howell's liked around the NFL. It's just him holding the ball a little too long is the issue. So
yeah,
that could be fixed. And yeah, Howell's having a pretty good camp is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, Seattle's going to be an interesting one from a fantasy standpoint to see how that all shakes out. But I'm big into JSN this year. He's a guy that I'm trying to go and acquire if I can before his price skyrockets to the moon, because his price is down right now. So especially with this rookie class that pushed him down quite a bit. So try and get JSN. All right, that is going to wrap us up for today. Tyler, any final parting words for us?
No, I am ready to go spend some money on groceries, which always sucks.
Yeah, I got to go to grocery stores and BJ's and stuff today too. So I feel you. We'll be spending money here at the Dynasty Happy Hour. We'll see you in a few weeks. Until then, enjoy your redraft leagues. Maybe listen to some older pods. Hook us up with that. Drop a like and subscribe on YouTube. Give us a review and a rating on iTunes. We always love to see that. And you know what? I wish everyone the best of luck. We'll see you guys in week number 1.